What is up, you guys? Thank you so much for stopping by once again. This is ARCa coming at you with a Thursday night AVCT, technicals, raw price action, and statistical threat of analysis. Before we get started, please make sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video, share the video with a friend so that you and them could consider joining our trading community in Discord called ARCab. With that said, let's go ahead and dive right into the charts. You guys, I have to warn you that I am not feeling all the way better just yet. If my voice goes away, please bear with me as I try to adjust so that we can finish our analysis for the night. Okay, so now we are looking at what we saw as a potential either symmetrical triangle or ascending triangle versus a bearish rising wedge. So what this action, what the price action is indicating here is that we may be realizing what could be a rising wedge. Now, a rising wedge does have a bearish outlook, and the bearish outlook is it's actually taken from the point of breakout by using a trend line. Now we can take that price objective by taking a trend line from the top of the triangle to the lowest point of the triangle, which could be connected by this line here, and we apply this trend line to the breakout point to gain an objective for that price. And the price objective is actually suggesting a touch to where we began this wedge. So there is a potential for that. We do have to keep an eye out for this because this actually can become a play to the downside. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at the next chart to see what we have. Okay, so this is going to be the statistical side of the analysis, and we are looking at AVCT on the 2-day chart. And for the new viewers, for the new listeners, this is volatility we're looking at represented by this indicator BBWP. Volatility is direction neutral. In order to gain a bias in direction, we do pair it with a momentum indicator similar to this one here. So we can use the momentum to give us that bias in direction in accordance to what the BBWP or volatility is doing from extreme levels like this, which on the upside at fully expansive levels I consider to be critical volatility above anything above or at this 90 percentile indication right here, the red line. My apologies. Okay, and the criteria for the backtest that we performed to gain those statistical metrics is, first of all, a backtest of the entire trading history of AVCT since the beginning. So we actually took note of every single iteration where we have started a contraction phase from fully expanded or critical volatility levels. So the criteria for that backtest is the duration of the iteration, the upside thrust on that iteration, and the amount of times that the iterations guessed the upside correctly versus incorrectly based on these vertical lines. So the metrics that we did receive are very interesting. Now, this is the way we gauge the bias and direction. I also back-tested the momentum oscillator by itself so we can see how accurate it has been during the entire trading history of AVCT. Now, the stochastic momentum out of 12 total iterations got 10 out of those iterations correct, giving us an 83.33% upside accuracy based on only the momentum oscillator by itself. Now, the backtests for volatility versus momentum profile, we actually did get an interesting read. And now this read is very rare, and it's actually something that this is the first time that I've actually seen it, to be completely frank with you. Before I give you those totals and the upside thrust on this, just know that I am not a financial advisor, and whatever I do say within these videos, I need you to take as a form of entertainment. Please also do your DD and we'll be okay. I can't actually suggest for you to buy or sell any assets. So now the volatility versus momentum profile backtest came up with 12 out of 12 upside guesses correctly. So this is a 100% upside accuracy. We have an averaged upside thrust of 53% over the span of just over a month. This is proof of work. So applying that 58% to the upside based on the firing of the signal, we can see a test of $1.56, which has confluence with our 0.236 fib ratio, and And it does have confluence with our 2 fib at 154. So there are some pretty desirable targets within this move. Now, please do know that I am talking about a month-long play here, just over a month. And the criteria for us to apply this 58% is based on both the volatility component and the moving average pitched to the downside or pivoted to the downside beyond the critical volatility zone, which I consider this, like I mentioned, the 90 percentile and above, and also the momentum oscillator pitched to the upside. So we do have some of that happening right now. There could be an issue presented due to the fact that the volatility component is starting to expand. So if it does expand, there could be a potential of a downside move. It could be corrective, within the upside move of the 2-day statistical upside target. And actually, with that said, please know that they are statistical metrics. They are actually not certainties. So we do use them so that we can be able to gain higher probabilities of targets on the way to that overall mean. So, yes, we do have the volatility and the moving average down. It looks like we're starting a contraction phase, which may indicate a potential pullback. And I mean, the 2-day momentum oscillator is still suggesting upside, which is great. So this is still looking good for AVCT. Well, let's go ahead and grab a bias and direction for a shorter time frame. I actually made a drawing here for the new viewers or for the new listeners for you to be able to use as a guide when I'm talking about the RSI. I don't want to describe this every single time that I make a video, so I'm going to leave this here for you guys. So on the immediate short-term time frame, 30-minute RSI, we are suggesting a continuation onto the downside, and we are also we're approaching now the deeper areas of the bear weakness percentile, which means that we can be gravitated into bear strength. The moving average is also suggesting a downside, so this is likely to show us some downside movement in the immediate short term, likely the earliest session. Bi-hourly RSI is suggesting a continuation onto the downside as well. This is a pretty significant pivot to the downside, and it's also within the shallow areas of the bull weakness. This is likely to be gravitated into the bear weakness percentile. Now, the 6-hour RSI is suggesting a continuation onto the downside. However, this is within the shallow areas of the bear strength percentile, the bear weakness percentile, which means that we can potentially be facing some sideways trading in the 6-hour period. Now, for the daily chart, it is in the bear strength percentile. However, we are within the shallow areas of the bear strength percentile, which means that we can be gravitated up and down within this area here, kind of like magnets, if you will. So what this indicates to me, personally, of course, as a discretionary statement, what this indicates to me is that the entire market space is at a potential hold until the FOMC tells us what their plans are going to be moving forward, based on the PPI and CPI better numbers that we got just recently. So this is actually the third ticker that I've looked at having this indecision. So it is common for us to face indecision within major economical catalysts. So with that said, I think this is a pretty good place for me to leave the video. If you have any questions or concerns, please don't hesitate to reach out to me in Discord and Twitter. I'll make sure to leave the links in the description below for you to consider joining the trading community in Discord called ARCa. But with that said, I wish you well, I wish you a good night, and I will catch you at the bell mañana. Adios.